Hello all. In the previous videos we have talked more on how the boot process happens in microcontroller, and then the different memory sections in a microcontroller. So in this video we will take one step back to see what happens during the generation of output file, and then how does the debugger or whatever the interface that you are using knows where to load this program. So these two are very important because we as a engineer, we write our programs and then dump them, but we need to understand where that is going, and this is the first step where you can play around with your program, play around with your memory sections, and experiment. And in future, if you want to change your memory range, so these steps are very important. So now just straight away let's start with the basic process. So first thing is you use an editor in a microcontroller to write your program. So now what happens is, once you write your program, most of the guys use C. There could be C++ as well. So we are restricting to C here. IDE meant the Code Composer Studio kind of environment where you write your program and then use the compiler. That means when you build, when you compile basically your program, that compiler converts the .c files, whatever you have written, into object files format. So this object files format cannot be directly flashed to microcontroller. You need a final executable to be dumped into your microcontroller for the function to run and perform the required functionality. So now in this case, there is something called linker, where most of the guys are not bothered about it, because most of the microcontrollers do provide by default and we are not worried about it. So this linker basically links some of the library files of this particular microcontroller defined by the manufacturer, and then combine them to these source files to generate an output file, which will be dumped onto your microcontroller, and then correspondingly the functionality would run. So this is how the three-step process that happens: write your program, compile, and then linker. So most of the guys, we use build, so which involves compilation and linking in the background, and we just get a output file. So now if you take the case of CCS here, there are settings associated with this linker. If you go to your project and then properties, you can see here in the properties, if you just first go to general, okay, so in general you describe your controller type, and then there is a linker command file MSP432 P401R.cmd. So this is the linker command file. So if you open that specific file, you can see here this is the default linker command file for Texas Instruments MSP432 P401R. So now if you go down, you can see here it defines the main memory origin, information memory origin, and then the length of that memory. So this is a 256 KB flash, so you can see here, and then the SRAM code and corresponding vector related data, the heap, stack, all these related data would be mentioned here. So now this linker command file is what basically defines the space, and then where to load our program. So this is very important, and we just need to know this. So now if you go to our CCS studio. If you are using a CCS, so in the installation under TI CCS, now we are using 9.3, under CCS base include, you will have this command file for this particular microcontroller. So now going back, so if you see the linker options, this is the actual flags that are set. You can see here the heap size, and then whatever the program that need to be done, and then basically the microcontroller which need to be used, all are mentioned here. So if you see this, define is equal to underscore MSP432. So if you go back and see the msp.h file, which we use generally as a include option in the header files and in the basically source files. So if defined MSP432, so if it is defined in that configuration, it includes MSP432 P401R.h. That meant if you go here, all the registers, everything with the base addresses will be included in your program. So this is where we use MSP432 P401.h. This file gets linked to your program this way. So we need to understand this, so that we will get to know where the program need to be stored, how the configuration happens. Hope we gave a little view of how the things flow, starting from editing the program and then compiling the program, linking, what are the files involved in linking, what is the configuration that we need to use for linking. So here we have used Code Composer Studio from Texas Instruments to explain for MSP432 P401R microcontroller. So you can check for other Cortex-M processors to see how this is happening. So most of the engineers who are just starting, they just configure this. They are not much worried about this configuration, because it directly helps us to set up the things, and then they just write their program and dump it onto the microcontroller. But knowing this is very important, so that, as we mentioned, in future this can be used to configure the memory and adjust the settings as per our requirements. Thank you. Hope we tried to provide some information here. Please post your comments if you have any questions on this. Please subscribe to our channel and like our video. Thank you.